Hi, this is Scott Wilkinson, host of Home Theater Geeks. In episode 306, I chat with a number of exhibitors from the Home Entertainment Show Newport about what they're showing here and their thoughts on high-resolution audio. So stay tuned.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Home Theater Geeks is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Home Theater Geeks with Scott Wilkinson, recorded June 2nd, 2016. Episode 306, live from the show Newport. This episode of Home Theater Geeks is brought to you by CuriosityStream, a subscription streaming service that offers over 1,400 documentaries and non-fiction series from the world's best filmmakers. Get unlimited access starting at just $2.99 a month. And for our audience, the first 2 months are completely free if you sign up at curiositystream.com/twit and use the offer code TWIT. And by Epson's new EcoTank printers. With Epson's line of SuperTank all-in-one printers, you can print thousands of documents without running out of ink. EcoTank is loaded and ready to print when you are. Visit epson.com/ecotank to find out more. Hey there, Scott Wilkinson here, the Home Theater Geek and editor of avsforum.com. This week, I'm coming at you live from the Home Entertainment Show, otherwise known as THE, or The Show, Newport. So named because it was originally in Newport Beach, California. It has since moved to Irvine, California, which is where I am right now. I've got a number of guests lined up who are coming in to talk about what they're showing here at the show. First up is my good friend Mark Waldrip, who's been here a number of times, and we're going to be talking about his new book and a couple other things. Look, here it is. It's an actual physical book.
It exists.
It exists. Hey, Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
So this is sort of press setup day. You know, the show opens tomorrow.
Right.
By the way, it's at the Hotel Irvine. Anybody in LA who wants to come down for the weekend, you'll hear some mighty fine sounds, I'm sure. Mark, you're basically showing off your recordings that you've done, right?
Yeah, in Expona once a year with partners. In fact, Kevin was kind enough to help us in Chicago with speakers, the Revel Salon Tuesday we had. We set up a ballroom with Benchmark and JVC and Revel. Oppo provided us a machine now that has multiple digital SPDIF outputs in the back, which is kind of unique that we used this year, where we actually play in a surround and sell the goods. But for a show like this and most of the others that I do, it's just too unwieldy logistically to get a 5.1, and the cost goes up. So we just simply set up a table with headphone, video monitor and sell the wares there.
Do you use headphone surround virtualization? Or
no,
just
actually, I used to do that, but it's just about getting familiar with the repertoire. Do I like Lawrence Juber? Do I want to hear, the Willie Nelson, Paul Williams things that we did?
Right.
It's just never an ideal listening situation. But most of the time when we go to a show, people come back after having seen or heard something from a previous show, and they come up and gobble up, whatever they liked off of the sampler, because we always include a sampler disc that's got a lot of the other repertoire. And they take that home and listen to it.
Cool. And then the other thing here is your book, which last time you were on the show, we were talking about.
This was make-believe.
A dream, yeah. And here it is. Look, pages and words and everything.
It's true. And you can go to musicandAudioguide.com and pre-order the book. It's still not finished, even though it is in the flesh here. I put this together as an exercise on a couple of fronts. One, to know how to put together a book using InDesign. So I taught myself how to do that.
Wow.
And I've been writing the chapters, assembling things. So it's about 3/4 written. And I've been working in the last several weeks on the Blu-ray disc that slips in the back in a sleeve that'll have a lot of demo material on it, including different levels of mastering on the same track, different formats of the same track. So you can, using the unique qualities of a Blu-ray disc, or a DVD actually does it as well, you can use the audio button on the remote and instantly switch from something that was heavily mastered to something that had no mastering on it at all. And if it doesn't matter to you, if you like the all loud all the time, then high-res is not for you, because that's one of the qualities of high-res or one of the things that benefits from using 24 bits. People like to think they've got a lot of bits coming through their system. Well, if you're not in the if they're not in the source material to start with, all those bits are.
What difference does it make?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's coming.
Good. Well, I look forward to seeing the final
I'm guessing
product.
another. It takes 6 weeks to print it, but it's probably, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months away.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be fun.
Definitely. And to hearing the disc, too, to making the comparisons between different formats, different levels of mastering, EQ, compression, all that stuff.
Exactly.
That is really going to be
Well,
important.
there's a graphic there.
Oh, look.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yes, exactly.
And that, as you see on the screen there, that's an example of a track that has been not only mastered within an inch of its life, but also been what's called normalized. That means that what happens after you flatten it out, which would normally occupy only, say, 50% of the entire band or the entire dynamic range, gets pushed up to within 0.2 dB of the maximum of a 16-bit or 24-bit delivery mechanism, which means it sounds hugely louder.
Yeah. And
And that's the whole goal from the record and the artist's perspective is my record is louder, you're going to buy more.
Right. I just heard Beck's new single called "Wow" at Capitol Records in their studio, and it looks exactly like that mastered thing. It's just constant, full level all the time.
That is, it's not really always the artists to say I want it one way or the other. There's a whole distortion of sound thing that Harman put out as a video that's in the Grammy Museum now, where the artists are all arguing about we want the best. It's got Quincy and Slash and a bunch of other artists that talk about the thing that their artistry is about and that they want, but it's not really their choice. It's the producer, the engineer, and ultimately it's a record label that says, send it back to mastering because this is not competitive in the space that we exist now.
Right.
It's not going to play well against, Adele's record or somebody else. If it's not loud, it's not going to work. It's not going to sell as many copies. Sad.
Sad, very sad. Now, the other thing we really wanted to touch on here is what you've called Cablegate.
I didn't make up the name, but I think it's absolutely perfect.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
Well, back in January, as part of my sort of investigative audiophile sleuthing, I happened across, because of a Facebook post on, audiophiles on a budget or whatever, there was a video on YouTube that was put out by Home Entertainment by Detronics, which is apparently a retail outlet down in Texas. And the gentleman, David Eagleson or somebody like that, was the host of this, I don't know, maybe it was 10 minutes long, something like that, a video extolling the virtues of HDMI cables, specifically the various grades of HDMI cables made by AudioQuest.
And how the different grades would affect the sound.
Absolutely. It's just so much better to have $1,000 1 meter or 3 feet long HDMI cable in this case than it was to have a generic monoprice cable.
Right.
And each one is at its own. I think there were 4 or 5 different gradations. And I, even through the speakers on my computer monitor, I said, this just doesn't pass the smell test. So at that point, I downloaded the video and I extracted the audio out and I did my normal spectrograph analysis. And it was very telling to me that very obviously, each one of the higher graded cables was louder. The difference between the lowest grade and the highest grade was a full 8 dB.
8 dB?
8 dB, roughly 2 dB for each one of them.
Wow.
And each one was progressively filtered. So that the lowest grade actually had this kind of sound, and they opened it up until it was, it was. And so I wrote a blog that was probably my biggest hit blog of all time, that exposed this, that said somebody, and the somebody has not ever been exposed because the production company that actually did the work, was it really AudioQuest's production, or was it
was it
Home
this retailer?
Entertainment's, but why was it all AudioQuest? Whatever. Those are questions that are still up in the air. But Bill Lowe, the head of AudioQuest, got in touch with me, and it was verified that in fact this had been juiced. Now the questions really come down to why was it necessary to juice the audio with each one of these in increasing level or each increasing costs, and you got to think about that. I'm not on a personal vendetta against any of the cable manufacturers. I just want them to be honest about it.
Absolutely.
And the fact is, when you're spending $5,000 or $10,000 or $50,000 for cables, you want to know that you're making a substantial, dramatic improvement to your sound. The fact is you're not. And in fact, some of it's chicanery, some of it's outright fraud. there is a place, and having good cables in my studio is an important fact as well.
Especially analog.
Oh, yes. But we're talking about, in this case, a digital cable, an HDMI cable, which we don't use in audio all that much. I mean, it's more SDIF and USB kind of thing. But in reality, it really struck me as being very devious, to be polite about it. And so,
and
that
Bill Lowe never, he never refuted what your claims were.
He said that he had seen it a year ago and it sounded kind of too good to be true in his mind, but he didn't do anything about it. And so whether that's important or not, the fact is it was ultimately exposed. The minute I wrote my article, the video came down and you couldn't see it anymore. In fact, Bill and the AudioQuest people couldn't get a hold of it as well because the production company said, no, we don't want to mess with this. We had nothing to do with anything. It was just a little bit squirrely. And as the person who runs a post-production place and have worked on hundreds of other people's projects, you only do what the client asks you to. You don't say, this isn't really working, so let's pull a
something
fast
else.
one.
Yeah, right.
So it goes. I just, the world needs to be honest about the stuff. I think we will benefit both high-res music and audio equipment from the beginning to the end if we just really get to the point where I'm going to tell you that this is a $1,000 cable. You listen, see what you think. If it works for you, great. But don't come at me saying that a $6,000 power cord somehow is the equivalent of a power conditioner. That's what I heard in a room at the Exponent show. It's just it's playing on the stupidity of audiophiles, and to say that I have a system that's lacking in low end and so according to some of the big authors and editors out there, well, you should get cables that are a little better in the low end. If your system's too bright, your cables are too bright. We have machines for that called equalizers that will have far more effect than the subtleties of a cable, and a lot easier.
Especially the power cable.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, the power cable coming off the wall is going into a power supply in the device, which is going to be filtering things anyway.
If it's built well, yes, it will. And we're audiophiles. We're not dealing with Radio Shack here, although I don't mean to demean Radio Shack. Maybe they make great stuff, but at the end of the day, people that make high-end audio equipment know how to handle the wall power, know how to turn it into the plus and minus 5 volts that they use in the circuits that are on the inside. And so when you put a speaker and you test the noise that's on the line, all of that is really just a toy to convince people to invest more in something that will not make the biggest difference in their sound. I keep coming back, and it's my thing, I understand, and that's self-serving, is that I make the content. And the fact is, it all comes back to the quality of the gasoline going into the engine. and that if you're going to play this new Beck record, you're going to expect it to be all loud all the time. If you play one of my tracks, it's going to be a track that has not been mastered, and the dynamics actually accurately reflect what was coming in the microphone at the source, if that matters. Maybe it doesn't to most people, but it does to some.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we just don't get the opportunity to hear that kind of stuff because the record labels are in cahoots with the production team, or demanding of the production team to do it until it's
because that's what sells.
I had Paul Rogers, one of the biggest celebrities that I've ever had in my studio, on a Bad Company record that I mastered, and it went back 5 times to me by the record company demanding to make it louder. Really. So, and this is not unusual. So the fact is, we don't get the option to hear music like the people in the studio hear it. Yeah. Even the people that end up mixing the record. Oh, this sounds glorious. This is what the artist's intent. That's not what the consumer hears. We hear it after it's been mastered, maybe multiple times been mastered. So wouldn't it be great if we could somehow come up with a single SKU product that would actually present all of the dynamic variations from the non-compressed version to the highly mastered version with a soft switch in your cell phone or in your playback system? It's certainly possible.
Well, that's what you do.
That's what I do.
That's what your titles on Blu-ray and so on. You can get.
Well,
them.
we have alternate mixes, but I don't master.
You don't master the heck out of them.
But the disc that comes along with my book will have one tune that's been mastered 5 different ways. Well, no mastering, all the way up to extreme mastering, and you'll be able to switch between them and decide for yourself which one appeals. Yeah. And it's like getting cooked in gradually heating water. It's the louder one is always better if you just A/B it. Yeah. And you won't really notice the difference until you go back to the original and hear the one that's got all the dynamic range. Yeah. That's what music is about for me.
Well, for me too, and I can't wait to hear the Blu-ray that comes with this.
It's an everyday thing in my life. How much have I got accomplished today? So.
Well, thanks so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Have a
That's
great
Mark
time.
Waldrip.
Thanks, guys.
President and CEO and chief bottle washer at AIX Records and iTrax, itrax.com, where you can download his high-res audio files and really hear what music is supposed to sound like as far as he's concerned. And I happen to agree with him as well. My next guest here at the show is Kevin Voecks, who is the Acoustic Technologies Manager, at least that's your latest title, at the Harman Luxury Audio Group. Thanks, Kevin, for being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
So what are you showing here at the show?
We have 3 rooms here at the show that are ours, and one of our fine dealers who is also demonstrating. So starting at the first floor at USA Tube, we've got our dealer showing Salon 2s. With a great sounding system in a large room.
Is that a 2-channel system?
That's a 2-channel system. And then on the 11th floor, we have 3 rooms. One of them is a Revel/JBL synthesis room, which is featuring our complete Revel Concerta 2 system that we just brought out.
Okay.
Which I'm so enthusiastic about because it's really bringing the prices down for Revel sound to where, all of my friends can buy them. They don't think it's just some weird thing that's wildly expensive that no one they know even buys.
Right.
So that's exciting.
Yes.
And that comes with Arcos EQ, so can do justice to the system regardless of the room, basically.
And that's a surround system?
That's a 7.1 system.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a fun one. Then we've got a kind of a static room that also has our Ultima Studio 2 loudspeakers and our Performa series, the middle series F206 floor standing loudspeakers. So they're unofficially on demonstration.
Okay.
They can be played. And then we've got a full Mark Levinson synthesis room, which is where there's the most new product and excitement for Mark Levinson in particular. So we've got the brand new 523 preamp that we're showing, which is at $15,000. So a new Levinson preamp doesn't come out very often.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. And then we've got the 526 preamp, which is at $20,000.
That's 2-channel?
Room also, that's 2-channel, absolutely. And we've got the 519, which is a 2-channel media source, and it's really a modern front end that has every flavor of 2-channel digital connection, plus built-in title and that sort of thing, UPnP discovery. So if it's 2-channel, it's going to find it, aggregate it nicely, and do a fantastic job of conversion and dealing with it.
Yeah.
So the 519 is $20,000 as a source. Then we've got the 536 mono power amplifiers, which
Those are those big tall guys?
no, they're not. That's the number 53, which are being used downstairs. These are a brand new amplifier that's done entirely from scratch by our new engineering team, or just around a couple of years, based in Connecticut, and it's just amazing. Any doubters about difference in amplifier sound will stop doubting when they listen to the 536s.
Okay.
And they're 400 watts into 8 ohms. The Salon 2s, which are not the easiest load in the world, and are more like 4 ohms, they'll double down into that, so 800 watts a channel. And in traditional Levinson fashion, they'll double down again
to 2 ohms?
To 2 ohms and 1,600 watts a channel. Yeah, so the real thing, and it's by far, in my mind, the best sounding Levinson amp that's ever been designed.
Well, I can't wait to hear it.
Really extraordinary. And then we've got the 534, which is a dual monaural version, so it's scaled down. It really looks the same. It uses one large toroid with separate windings for each part, so it really is dual monaural. Yeah. And that's 250 watts a channel, and
into 8 ohms,
20,000. Yeah, and that doubles and then doubles again.
Right.
Likewise.
Boy, that's hard for an amp to do, isn't it? To go all the way down to 2 ohms and
it is
double and quadruple its power output.
That's right. We can't say that on the literature because UL doesn't allow the 2 ohm, the 2 ohm ratings anymore. And then we've got the JBL K2 loudspeakers in a custom white finish.
Yeah.
And those are $27.5 each.
SoCal Ray Jr. in the chat room is asking if you're using the new Synthesis Pre-Pro.
We are not using it because we don't have a room that's big enough to do 3D audio. So we're using the SDP25, which is our entry level in that range.
Now we have a photo of the Concerta 2 series. Is this the sort of entry level Revel?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. So we've got the F36 towers.
Those are the taller ones?
Those are the taller ones, and those are $1,000 each retail.
Oh, man. For Revel, that's amazing.
Exactly.
Now, I have to tell you, I've heard Revel speakers many, many times, and I just love the sound quality. It's very clean, very neutral, but not clinical. I mean, it's very pleasant sounding, but without emphasizing any particular frequency range, which I think is great.
Well, that's certainly our objective.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of times we've heard speakers described as clinical that really weren't neutral.
Yeah.
That just meant, well, they're kind of bright and a little uncomfortable.
Yes, yes.
And they don't need to be that way to be neutral. What we've taken a turn from the norm for Revel with these speakers with a 2.5-way crossover. That means that you've got a lot more diaphragm area at low frequencies. It means that the heat that will inevitably be generated with playing it loud at low frequencies is spread out over 3 voice coils. So you have less dynamic compression.
2.5-way really means that one of the larger drivers, several of the drivers share lower frequencies, but then they sort of fall off not at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's actually a patent pending design for that crossover and was invented by Mark Laser, who is our very long time chief engineer for Revel.
Yeah. Well, this just sounds great, and I can't wait to get up there and hear it.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Now, in a couple minutes we have left, I wanted to ask most of my guests here today. High-res audio is a big topic. It's
Absolutely.
a big topic here. It's a big topic a lot of places. And I just wanted to get your quick hit on how much benefit you think high-res audio offers and under what conditions.
Okay. Well, I think that likely the main advantage of doing anything over CD quality is just moving that filter away from the audible band. In our some of our new products, you actually have a selection of that decimation filter of different types, and it's very instructive because you learn that indeed they sound different, and clearly it's better if that's just eliminated as an audible effect. So anything above CD is going to do that. It's going to be moved out far enough. So that's certainly one real thing.
And can you hear that within the audio band, let's say below 20K?
Oh, absolutely.
You can, okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
So as long as you've moved that up to a higher frequency, then you've got a true advantage that is repeatable. I think that many of these high-res recordings were actually remastered, oftentimes originally for SACD.
Yeah.
And that's of course, that's completely different. And yeah, if that's the only way to get those recordings, then that alone is plenty reason to buy the high res. It's just unfortunate that the recording industry has shot all of us in the foot or the feet with their silly definition of high res. So if I take a wax cylinder recorder, a wax cylinder player,
Like an Edison thing.
exactly, and I used the world's cheapest microphones, and I recorded it at anything above CD quality. That's a high-res recording, and that's obviously insane.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, so it's buyer beware in that regard. But there's a lot of good material. It's exciting to have it available.
Yeah, yeah. And when you have speakers that can reproduce it well, so much the better.
And electronics. That will reveal those subtle differences.
Yep. Fantastic. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it's great to have you here. That's Kevin Voecks. He is the Acoustic Technology Manager at Harman Luxury Audio Group, harman.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Scott.
let me tell you about one of our sponsors for this episode, which is CuriosityStream. Now, CuriosityStream is the world's first ad-free nonfiction streaming service, founded by John Hendricks, the founder of Discovery Communications. Over 1,400 titles and 600 hours of content are on CuriosityStream, and it's available in 196 countries worldwide. They're available on many platforms as well: web app, Roku, Android, iOS, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Amazon Kindle, and Apple TV. There's a wide variety of science and technology content, plus nature, history, and many more topics. In fact, there's over 50 hours of 4K content, which they've just launched. It's one of the largest 4K libraries on the internet. In addition to documentaries, they also have interviews and lectures. Their library includes Stephen Hawking's Universe, a series where Stephen Hawking traces the history of astronomical theories and technology. Next World, featuring Michio Kaku, one of my favorite science promoters and scientists, talking about the future of technology, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and other big technological questions. The human face of big data is currently exclusively on CuriosityStream. And The Road to the Singularity, Jason Silva and other experts explore the inevitable arrival of superhuman intelligence in this CuriosityStream original documentary. Monthly and annual plans are available, and they start at just $2.99 per month, less than the cup of coffee or the cost of one title on competing on-demand platforms. Check out curiositystream.com/twit and use the promo code TWIT during sign-up to get unlimited access to the world's top documentaries and nonfiction series completely free for the first 60 days. That's 2 entire months free of one of the largest 4K libraries around. Just go to curiositystream.com/twit and use the offer code TWIT at sign-up. And we thank CuriosityStream very much for their support of Home Theater Geeks. Okay, next up, my next guest here is Owen Quan. Come on in, Owen, have a seat. So happy to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me, Scott.
Welcome. This is Owen Quan. He is the president of, or I guess the CEO.
Yes, I'm currently taking care of the North American business of Astel & Kern.
Astel & Kern, which is quite famous for its high-resolution audio portable players.
Thank you.
And so, in fact, you brought a couple of new products here to show us today.
Yes, we have.
What do we got?
For this show, we are launching for the first time in the States our recording module, AK recorder unit that you can use with our 300, 380, 320 models, so that you can immediately get the live session recording in different format choices of a double-layer DSDs or 32 bits or 24-bit music.
Wow. So let's take a look. Bring them on in, and the camera's right there. Okay. So, oh, look at that. How cool. A little mic stand with a pair of microphones. You can see what the camera is looking at right there. So, yeah, bring it in closer to the center. There you go. So we have these two. Well, tell us what we're looking at.
So this AK recorder is actually a jacket that can be sleeved on this backside of the AK300 or 300 series of the player. Mm-hmm. So what it does is it does conversion of analog to the digital conversion in different choices of the formats. Mm-hmm. So basically the point is that there are some contents that we can really enjoy as a high resolution, but there is also great demand in the market that professional artists and then sound engineers who wants to capture the live performance in different formats. Mm-hmm. And now, if you want to make recordings of DSD format, probably you need to have a system that's about half truck full. The
DSD recording format, right. Direct Stream Digital, which is the system that the format that SACD uses, is not a trivial thing.
That is correct. So this is the package that actually does full quality DSD recording in double-layer DSD
at double rate. So 5.6 megahertz.
That's correct.
Which is kind of important to me because the basic the base rate of DSD, which is 2.8 megahertz, basically does, as I understand it, some noise shifting, right? And shifts the noise into the above 20 kilohertz range, but just above. So considering that high resolution audio is questionable. But if you do it double rate, it shifts it even farther higher into the frequency band, allowing more of the ultrasonic frequencies that you're recording to actually be faithfully captured.
That is correct.
That's
so
great.
This is the package that can do live and native recordings in DSD format, the smallest form factor, and then I believe this is the most inexpensive version of the DSD recording tool that people can get.
Wow, so how much?
It retails that the recording module is only about $900, and then you can match it with any 300 series of our portable player.
And the 300 series serves as the storage?
It serves as a storage and the user interface so that you can do the controls. And then very soon we will release the new application that you can use on the tablet or iPad so that you can control multiple units of these recording units.
Wow.
So that you can actually record the group sessions in the real moment.
That's very cool. Now, I see the microphones are set up to be like a few inches apart. Do you have other mounts that would do, say, an XY or?
Yes. So there are different inputs, such as on the bottom over here, there's a mini XLR connection that you can plug in other different types of the microphone that you have, or directly putting the inputs of the recording modules. Then there's another line in it takes. So you can put input different inputs too. So the line in is more, getting quite interesting too because of this line in. Basically, what you can do is you can read your vinyl from turntable and getting passed through the analog signal past the Pono stage, and then record it in DSD format directly to the machine and stores it, listen to it every time.
Wow. This reminds me quite a bit of, there are quite a few portable recorders. Zoom is the most popular, common one I think people might know about. Not quite as expensive as this, but they don't do DSD. This one will also do PCM, will it not?
It does. You can choose different rates and different bit rates and different sampling rates of the 24-bit, 32 bits, and then from 44 kilohertz to 382 kilohertz too.
Well, it's fantastic. It's a great addition to the Astel and Kern line.
I believe so, and it is quite interesting for us that how much of the business that we can offer, or the benefits that we can offer to our listeners, not only listening to the music, but also getting more familiar with the creating and then enjoying their moment of the lives with the better sound. That is where that is what we are looking after.
Yeah, very good. I'm just looking at the chat room here to see if we got any questions. Doesn't look like we do at the moment. So let me ask you the question that I've been asking some of my other guests regarding high resolution audio. What do you see as the benefit of high resolution audio that captures more than 20 kilohertz and a wider dynamic range than the CD can, and under what conditions?
That's a really good question. So when we are making the recommendation of different tiers of our product, including top tier 380, 320, and then 300, there's certainly a capability of each different model, and then reason that we put different price point into it. Because
they all are capable of reproducing high-res audio,
They
right?
are, but the bigger the delivery systems are, the more the difference that you can experience. Such as if you are not only using the portable player for on-the-go listening for the commutes and so on, then 300 would be just perfect, good enough.
You've got a high noise floor in your car or in the subway or while you're walking down the street. You're not going to hear that kind of dynamic range that you would in your living room.
But if you have a home large enough and then dedicated home audio system that has a lot, that can deliver a lot wider dynamic range to the listeners, then that's where the capability of how detailed the player can play it back for you. And for that matter, if you have a high resolution music, is you can think of it as a blueprint of the house. As more detailed it is, then the more accurate and more the better build that you will get.
Interesting analogy.
Because that is the blueprint that you can start. But if you're looking at the blueprint so far away, just trying to figure out the appearance of the building, it is not quite. You can tell what kind of a building that is, but it doesn't really give you the details of how beautiful it is and how useful it can be. So, yeah, high resolution itself is a great starting point, but it has to be captured and then reproduced better with the proper playback tools and then proper delivery tools. In that case, in-ear monitors or the high-end, high-performance headphones or the home stereo speakers.
Rusty Bones in the chat room is asking, have you heard of MQA technology?
Yes, I have.
And what do you think?
We admire their passion, and I strongly believe that we do share the same passion of delivering the full quality with more efficient and effective ways. And in that way, MQA team have been done excellent work. So we admire their work, and then we'd love to, continue working with them, and then embrace the listening capability of our listeners with our players too.
Do your players currently implement MQA technology, or
it does not? And we are looking into
that.
Yes,
because it does require. It's a proprietary system. It does require some decoding.
Yes.
But it takes high resolution audio and folds it down into a 1.4 megabit bit stream, which is the same as CD basically, but then unfolds it at the other end if you have the decoder.
Exactly.
And gives you the full resolution, which is quite remarkable.
Exactly.
Okay. iPhone 67-127 is asking, if it only has mini XLR, this recorder,
Yes.
Do you need an adapter for a full XLR cable?
Yes. If you have an adapter, which you can simply get from other custom cable shops or other online marketplaces.
And what about phantom power if you have a condenser mic?
Yes. Actually, these are the DPA condenser microphone. We offer 5 and 48 volts of the phantom power on the machine.
Excellent. Well, boy, that just looks great. I record quite a bit myself, so love to get a chance to try it out.
That'll be awesome. That'll be honored.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, Scott.
That's Owen Quan, president of Astel & Kern, who makes these wonderful high-resolution audio players, and they are at astelandkern.com. Okay, if you could go and grab my next guest, who is, I will tell you in a moment here, Andrew Jones, one of my favorite speaker designers. Here he comes. Hey, Andrew.
Hey.
Look, you even brought some show and tell.
Yes.
So good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. And sorry for being so late. So Andrew here is the VP of Engineering at ELAC America, very well-known speaker designer, designed the Pioneer speakers that everyone talked about so much in those days and still value greatly.
Yes.
And since then, you've gone on to this company, ELAC, which is, I guess, based in Germany.
Based in Germany, northern Germany, Kiel, just close to the Danish border.
And they have, 90-year history or something?
90 years this year.
Yeah,
yes.
That's amazing. Known very well for turntables back in the day.
That's what everybody over here knows them for, because that's what they used to sell over here. And then back in the 80s, when CD came along, it kind of killed their turntable business.
Yes.
So they moved into speakers by the mid-80s. And so now throughout Europe and Asia, everyone knows of them for speakers.
Yeah.
But they never really cracked this market. So that was part of the dastardly plan of bringing me in. Yeah, to try and both expand awareness for ELAC. Although it also, of course, expanded awareness for me, which I'm not complaining about.
Who would want to complain about that?
But, to get awareness for ELAC,
yeah,
and both for the speakers that they already have, but also to set a new direction for them. Along the lines of what I had been doing with the Pioneer entry-level speakers, let's reinvigorate that end of the market.
Yeah.
And it's worked very well.
Yeah. Well, again, your speakers from ELAC have been seen. I guess we saw them one of the first ones last year at this show.
That's when we launched.
Yeah,
exactly 1 year ago.
Exactly right. And so here you are again. What are you showing? What are you showing at the show this year?
So we've got the UB5s. So this is the step-up model from the debut series, to Unify. So I've gone into doing the concentric drivers, which is, of course, my first love.
Yeah.
And we've shown the UB5s at CES and at the Chicago Expo show. This is the first time at this show. But I also got the floor standard versions, which no one's heard yet.
So this is the first for this show.
Yeah, I should say, I guess I've heard them.
Yeah.
So it's not quite nobody.
You better have heard them by now. Many times, I hope.
So those I have there. So I'll swap between the two, depending on how good my back is.
Well, hopefully you can just sort of, swap cables or something. You don't have to actually. And now one of the things that really struck me last year was that you weren't using anything really expensive. The source material, the cables, the little rack that you had things in.
Stand, the only thing that was expensive relatively was the Bel Canto all-in-one, and that goes
which is a
different
DAC and a
DAC preamp
amplifier
all-in-one.
Yeah,
and that varies between I think just short of $2,000 up to $3,500, depending on configurations that it's got. But since that time, I've played them with Yamaha integrated amplifiers and the Sprout. That's a nice combination. So they do work with affordable amplification. But what I've always been doing for myself for my demos is to try and show off just how good they can sound. So it gives you upgrade options that you don't think that you immediately have to upgrade the speakers if you're wanting to get an upgrade, that they'll always show off the capabilities of whatever electronics you put them on. So that's why I tend to show them with better electronics to give you a different idea of how you can mix and match the system.
I think you brought one. Let's take a look here.
So I brought the new. This is not the Unify, but this is what we hadn't shown last year. Was the smallest entry-level speaker.
Here you can see where it's at. There it is.
Was the B5, so it's 5-inch. But of course, the Pioneer was a 4-inch. So this is now successor to the PS22.
So this is a 4-inch?
So it's a 4-inch, same cone material, the woven Aramid fiber, and the same tweeter as in the rest of the debut line. Smaller cabinet, but this sounds way better than the Pioneer.
Than the one,
It costs a little more.
What are we talking about?
$179 a pair. So now we have $179, $229, $279.
Okay, all right.
But it's a great sounding speaker.
Oh well, are you playing it here at the show?
I might switch out at some point.
Okay,
yes.
All right.
It's not my main focus. My main focus is going to be the step up line.
So you started kind of with the debut. You went upscale a little bit from there with the Unify.
Yes.
And now you're trying to address the real entry level end of the market.
Yes, give another option at the very entry level.
Well, I would hope it would sound better because, you've learned something since then. We all hopefully learn things as we age and do better than we did the last time around, right?
Absolutely. Yes. You've already learned by the time you get into production thinking, well, I know what I'm going to do next time.
I'm going to do next time,
You just wait for that opportunity. And then, of course, we've moved into electronics as well.
Yes,
and
tell us a little bit about
that. Them, but the music server, which is here, quite a cute little thing.
Wow, look at that.
Its final livery.
Yeah.
Very small, very cute. And that's running the Room software as the interface.
The Rune software,
yes. But the whole system is our own hardware and software for handling all the audio signals, and Rune is the graphical interface, and it's a fantastic. Rune is a fantastic interface.
Sure.
As a way of accessing your collection, but this does things like multi-zone, so you can run 3 or 4 separate streams.
To different parts of the house.
2 separate analog outs and a digital
and
out.
The Ethernet. Yeah.
So you can have many people with their different tablets accessing the music from that collection independently. So it's and that's going to be all in $1,100.
$1,100. How much storage?
No storage on board. The storage on board is for the metadata. So there's 8 gigs. So that once it's accessed all your metadata, then it's
album
really
art,
fast.
that sort of thing.
And just the amount of metadata you get with Rune Labs, it's astonishing. You can pull up everything about the artist, their life's history, every album they've played on. As you're playing an album, you can go and look at who's playing drums. Oh, I like that drummer. Click on his name. That'll tell you every track in your collection or on Tidal that drummer is playing.
Wow.
And then you can click on it and play it, and then get the life history of that guy.
Nice.
And it goes on and
very nice.
Yeah, it's a fantastic. We call it the discovery because it's the way
it's how you discover
music.
Yeah. So then you pair it with a hard disk or?
So yes, you either plug in a hard drive into the back or a network
attached storage.
Yes.
NAS.
Yeah.
And so $1,100 and your own storage.
Yes.
Sounds great to me.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. Well, I can't wait to hear it. Let me ask you in the last couple minutes we have together, what I've been asking my other guests, which is your thoughts on the benefits of high resolution audio. Your speakers are, certainly on the lower end of the price point than, the Revels that I was talking to Kevin Voecks about, $20,000, $30,000. Although his new...
For right now.
Yeah. You're coming up with...
Kevin, watch out. Okay,
watch out. All right. He does have the new Concerta 2s, which are quite a bit less expensive, but still. My question always with high resolution audio is it gives you more dynamic range than a CD. It gives you more frequency response than a CD, upper end frequency response. And do you need specialized equipment in order to appreciate that? Or can you, even on inexpensive equipment, appreciate the benefit that high res audio supposedly offers?
I think it's a matter of degree. You'll always, to appreciate everything that's even on a CD, the better the system, the better the sound you'll get, the more you'll hear into the recording. So even regular 1644 can sound fantastic, or it can sound not so good, depending on the quality of the equipment. But then on top of that, you've got the quality of the recordings.
Yes.
And like when I first started playing computer audio shows, I was one of the first with getting the Tower and the Link sound card and blowing up all my speakers every time I lost clock sync. But I was always trying to get as much directly from the studios as I could of high quality music, like from Bill Schnee.
Yeah.
And
great engineer.
Yes, when you get those great recordings, in one way, it doesn't matter what you play it back on because it always sound better. And that has to be the key. Do it right at the beginning, then you'll hear more of the benefits as you play it back better and better. But if you don't get it right in the beginning, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it's digital audio or whether it's analog. The same rules apply.
Yeah.
Even with vinyl, I've got tons of vinyl that's sort of unlistenable. It doesn't mean just because it's vinyl, it's good.
Yeah.
It means it has a potential, just like any system.
Yeah.
But you've got to get it right at source.
I think your point is so well taken that really you have to start with the quality of the recording.
Yeah.
And the better the quality of the recording, the better it'll sound on any system.
Yes.
Yeah. We got one question here from Creamy Corncob. Can you have Andrew explain using foam or rubber surrounds and regular or neodymium magnets to come up with the ideal mid-range driver? Holy smokes, that's a pretty specific question, isn't it? In 1 minute or less, go.
One advantage of foam surrounds is they're very lightweight compared to even the thin rubber surrounds. So if you're going for all-out efficiency, paper cone, foam surround, can't beat that for efficiency. But longevity has always been the issue with foams. Better than they used to be, but still not necessarily perfect.
Yeah.
So everything has its application. There is no right solution. There's an appropriate solution in depending on what you want to do.
Right.
So they can still give great results within a limited bandwidth and a limited application. Neodymium, so powerful, you have the advantage that you can saturate the pole pieces much more easily than with a ceramic magnet, and that will reduce some of the flux modulation effects you get. So it can reduce the distortion products. So great for mid-range applications.
But more expensive.
But more expensive. And we went through a period where it's so expensive, everyone gave up using it. And now we're back to sensible prices, supposedly. So all my concentric drivers in the Unify, the mid-range and the Tweet, are both use neodymium magnets.
Well, there you go, Creamy Corn Cob. Andrew, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it. That's Andrew Jones, VP of Engineering at ELAC America. So if you could let my next guest know that it's time for him to come on in, that's Darren Fong. And while we are waiting for Darin, I will tell you about our other sponsor for this episode, which is Epson. Now, Epson's revolutionary EcoTank line of printers for home and office introduce a new age in printing. The new EcoTank ET4550 wireless all-in-one printer doesn't use ink cartridges. Instead, it features an innovative refillable ink tank, earning it the title of CES 2016 Innovation Awards honoree. The EcoTank ET4550 comes with enough ink to print up to 11,000 black pages or 8,500 color pages, equivalent to about 50 ink cartridge sets. You're loaded and ready to print for up to 2 years. Powered by Epson's leading-edge precision core technology, it delivers high-speed, vivid colors and laser-quality black text. Plus, auto two-sided printing, 30-page auto document feeder, and easy wireless printing from tablets and smartphones. All EcoTank printers deliver an unbeatable combination of convenience and value with ultra-low-cost replacement ink bottles. Epson recently released their Creative Print app, making it easier to preserve your Instagram and Facebook photos. Download the app to create personalized photo collages, custom greeting cards, stationery, and coloring book templates. You can also print photos directly onto CDs or DVDs. Be creative on the go. Print from your mobile device to a variety of compatible Epson all-in-one printers within your wireless network. Visit epson.com/ecotank today to transform the way your home, office, or work group prints. For the best combination of ease and value, turn to the new Epson EcoTank printers. That's epson.com/ecotank. And we thank Epson very much for their support of Home Theater Geeks. Epson, exceed your vision. So, next up in the cavalcade of stars from from the show Newport here in Irvine, California, is Darren Fong of Darren Fong Audio. Darren, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Darren is the owner of Darren Fong Audio at fongaudio.com. And Darren, you've created something very interesting, which I'm sad to say I was not able to hear before the show. I was so busy setting things up, but I will be there. I definitely want to hear this. Tell us about Out of Your Head.
Well, so basically we...
Want to come in a little closer to the mic, maybe?
Whoa.
That's fine.
So we develop software. So it's a software-only product that works with any headphones, any DAC, any amp. And what it does is it gives you the speaker listening experience, but with your headphones. So when you listen to it, it doesn't sound like you're wearing headphones. It sounds like you're sitting in a room with speakers, and it supports up to 7.1, so you can get a full surround experience.
So it's a virtualizer as well.
Yes. And so the idea is that even for 2-channel music, you'll hear exactly where the speakers were located in the room when we measured them. So we base everything on measurement, and you can hear how far away they are, where they were in the room. You can hear how reflective the surfaces were in the room.
Wow.
You can tell what brand of speakers they were. You can hear the amplifiers. I mean, basically, it sounds as if you're sitting in that room listening to those speakers.
Now, we've got some photos here of some of the speaker systems that you have measured and I guess you'd say emulate within Out of Your Head. Right. Let's take a look at a couple of these pictures here, because this really is pretty interesting. I love these a cappella, what are they called? Trialons?
Yeah.
Big, giant horn speakers. We also have, someone's knocking on the door. Go away. The Magico Q7, those are fabulous speakers, really nice speakers. And also, I forget what the other one was that we had. We'll pull it up here in a second. presumably. Oh, well, here's the control panel anyway.
Right, that's the interface.
The interface,
Yeah.
which lets you pick which speakers you want to listen to.
Right, so we've gone out and measured a total. Right now we have a total of 27 different rooms and different speakers. Everything from high-end listening rooms like the ones that you showed. We also have recording studios. We did a measurement at Mark's place at AIX.
Oh, yeah, AIX Records. I think we have a picture of Technicolor Studio as well.
Right.
There it
so
is.
We did a measurement there at their dubbing stage in Hollywood. And so the idea is that with a click of a mouse, you can listen to your content as if you were sitting in that Technicolor studio or watching a movie, of course, or playing a game. So it works with all of that.
So what sorts of measurements do you need to take in order to capture that information?
It's basically, we use in-ear microphones. And so you are taking that measurement with factoring in the head-related transfer function of the person we used, and a lot of times it's me.
But your head-related transfer function is not the same as mine.
Right, and there are variations, and so I know it's not perfect, and everybody's going to have a different experience. Certainly, with different headphones too, the sound will be different. We do vary the head-related transfer function that we use. We use different people basically for some of the different rooms, and so part of the reason why we have 27 of them is you can go through and find one that maybe matches your HRTF a little bit better than the others.
Okay.
But overall, even though it's not perfect, it still gives you the localization of the sound well outside of your head, well into the room. And you can also very distinctly hear the differences in the sound of the speakers. So you still get a good sense of it, but yeah, it's tricky because
here's a list of all the speaker presets.
Right. So some people may, one person may listen to one and think it sounds great, and then another person could listen to the same thing and say, what are you talking about? That doesn't sound, but hopefully there's something there for everyone.
Sure. How do you handle as you move your head around?
Right.
Your system reminds me so much of the Smith Realizer,
of course,
right? Which is $3,000 plus for a box that actually lets you measure your own head-related transfer function, and it has a head tracker that as you move your head around, the speakers seem to stay where they are as they would in a room.
Well, again, I mean, obviously there's a difference in price and hardware involved. But it's very similar in terms of the experience. In fact, we can even, for Realizer owners, we can take their measurements and convert them to be used on our system.
Oh, how interesting.
So then they would have a custom measurement of their HRTF, but with the flexibility, the versatility of our software, where you don't have to have the Realizer hardware. You can use any laptop, you can use it on a plane, you can use it in a hotel room.
But do you have any kind of head tracking?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Does the system, the speakers move with you as you move around?
Speakers do move with you, but and talking to a lot of Realizer owners, I actually own a Realizer too, is that a lot of us don't use the head tracker after a while. Initially, it does help with the imaging and the localization, but personally, I just find it not necessary, and then to make sure the thing is charged and not to move your head too much. But usually when I'm watching a movie or even when I'm listening to music,
you're sort of looking straight ahead for the most part.
Looking straight ahead, and we are looking at using camera-based head tracking to be able to do it without the hardware,
without having to have this thing on your head.
Right. So yeah, in theory, with now with laptops and tablets and things like that have cameras, and obviously there's head tracking software that works pretty well. So that's a possibility.
So your system is entirely software based,
right?
It runs in a computer,
right? It's Windows and Mac currently. We're close to getting iOS and Android.
Oh, okay.
But the CPU power is quite a bit lower than the typical laptop.
And you'd need to basically play your music from the PC or the Mac that you're using, and it sort of goes through internally, goes through your software.
Right. So our software will process the audio from the PC or the Mac. It does support streaming though, so all your streaming services, you can use that on your laptop as well.
Got a couple of questions here in the chat room. SoundPro69, who's a regular member of our chat room, said he heard it at RMAF, Rocky Mountain Audio Fest, in 2015 and was blown away. The illusion of the presence of the speaker in front of you is unbelievable. At least it was for him. So you got a fan there for sure.
The best thing about doing software is that it's rare in the audio world that you can actually try something at home with your system. And you can be the judge for yourself how well it works for you. We have on our website our pre-rendered demo files, so you don't even have to download anything or install anything. You just play it, and it's a 2-channel. It's a recording of the output from out of your head software, and then you can just use your phone or whatever it is and get a taste of what's possible with our software. Then if you find it works for you, you can go ahead and download a free trial and install it on your system and use it with your headphones, with your amplifier and your DAC. And that way you get a much better sense of what you're going to end up with.
Right. And so how much does it cost?
The software is $149 retail, and that includes one of the 27 presets of your choice. So you can go through in trial mode and listen to all 27 as much as you want. And then
you pick
one. Each additional preset is $25. So, and then we also have a gamer version, which is a fixed preset. You don't have your choice of all the 27, but it's really just for those gamers who just want the 7.1 surround on their headphones. And that's $25. So.
Now, another application that strikes me is virtual reality.
Right.
Because, we're hearing a lot about that these days, and I've been learning a lot more about it.
Big.
And gaming, of course, which is, I guess, sort of a form of virtual reality in a sense.
Sure.
Virtual reality goggles are great for gaming.
Right.
And I imagine if you added this to it, that could be even better.
Then, with the goggles, of course, you have head tracking or because you're turning around in different directions. And so that can certainly be incorporated into the 3D audio aspect. We also, being software, can scale to more channels. I mean, currently we support 8 channels, but there's no reason. The limitation is computing power, but we could scale up to as many channels as we wanted to. So we're looking at
could you do immersive audio? Could you do overhead?
Sure. Yeah. So we can reproduce the sound coming from anywhere.
Yeah.
Even below you.
UJ is asking, are you working on adjustable head-related transfer functions, or is this even possible?
Well, it is possible. I mean, like there are other technologies, but that do more of a computer synthesized psychoacoustic effect, in which case, you can change the size of the room or things like that. But because our system is based on actual measurements, and we find that because it's based on actual measurements, then it's much more realistic because it's based on measurement rather than a computer generated synthesized effect. But the downside of that, of course, is we can't alter the acoustic fingerprint of that room or modify the head-related transfer function. I'm sure it'll be possible down the line. And, to be honest, even Smith Research has talked about their new product potentially having some of that capability, but
it's obviously not trivial.
Right. It's not. It's almost like the holy grail of what we do, and that if we could apply, my head-related transfer function to someone else's measurement, then the possibilities start to open up significantly.
Wow. SoundPro69 is asking, what about a Linux version?
Yeah, it's all kind of supply and demand.
Yeah. There aren't that many Linux users probably.
And we're more focused on the iOS and Android, to be quite honest.
I think that makes sense to me.
There's no reason why we can't be on Linux. It's just on that to-do list. It's not quite as high as the
Got it.
iOS or Android.
Got it. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
it. Thanks.
And I'll definitely come by. You're in the
we're in the marketplace.
The marketplace.
M04, and even if you don't have a chance to come by, you can just go on our website and listen to it with your headphones.
Very good. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thanks a lot.
Really appreciate it. If you could send Dan Wiggins in, I appreciate it. I know he's out there. So we got one more guest here today. So I hope you'll stick with us because Dan Wiggins is here and he's brought along some show and tell too. It looks like, yes, indeedy. So I'm really happy to have Dan here. Dan, thanks so much for being here, man.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
After you said I couldn't bring a speaker because they were all too big to show. Ta-da!
Ta-da! This is Dan Wiggins. He's the CTO of Stark Sound. You've been on my podcast before.
Yes, I have.
And this is pretty high-end stuff we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's very, very high end, but not with too much of a high price.
Oh, well, this is
still
good.
affordable. Still affordable.
Okay, tell us what you brought to show us.
This is the little tiny.
Let's make sure you can see it here.
Ta-da. There we go.
Ta-da!
See, we actually do make things you can handle and carry. Let me set it down over your
The system that I saw at CES was not that.
That's right. We're showing a variant of that upstairs,
Okay.
actually.
All right.
So this is our little H1. It's a little tiny bookshelf kind of thing. It's about $1,500 a unit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a three-way, as you saw. There's a tweeter, a dedicated mid-range.
Let's take another look.
Yep. No problem.
Put
There we go.
it right here.
There we
Okay,
go.
so a three-way with a
So,
little tiny
yep.
tweeter.
Yeah, we got a silk dome tweet. We got a woven carbon fiber mid-range, and then we have, of course, our woven carbon fiber woofer.
Which is how big?
This is a 5 1/4. It's an oversized 5 1/4. It's about 5 1/2. It's a 4-inch, and then it's a 1-inch.
Okay.
And we manufacture everything ourselves. We do our own
Really?
cabinets. We do our own transducers. Our
Here
own
in
crossovers.
America?
No, actually, we've got 3 factories.
Oh, okay.
We've got one in Asia, which
Okay.
does our cabinet work.
Okay.
Doing piano gloss lacquer finishes anywhere outside of China is basically verboten by environmental laws.
Ah.
So stop demanding piano finishes so we can do them elsewhere.
You heard it here, folks.
That's right. But the transducers, we build some of the transducers in the U.S. We also build some of them in China and some of them in Europe. And then most of our electronics are manufactured in Europe as well. We have a facility there.
Okay. All right. So you got a couple rooms here?
We've got one room we're
One
showing
room.
our system in.
Okay.
And then some of our gear is for display in a few other rooms. Some of our vendors, some of our sales reps.
Mm-hmm. So you called this affordable. What are we talking about?
This is about $1,500
Each?
each.
Okay.
So at this show, that's affordable.
At the show, it is. You're right. Except for the ELACs, of course.
Well,
which-
except for the ELACs, exactly. But that's a different market.
it is a different market, and Andrew did absolutely an amazing job with the money and the budget that he had available.
It's
to him.
stunning. It's absolutely stunning. He's an amazing guy.
Yeah,
So,
no question.
But some of the other products he's built in the past. some
Oh
of the
yeah.
big,
The TADs.
Yeah, exactly.
In
Some of
the
the-
$80,000 range.
That's a little more what this show is about.
Yeah.
So up in our room, we're showing our big H5s, the big floor standing 3-ways,
Mm-hmm.
4-ways that you saw. Just a pair of those. We're showing our A7 amplifier.
Mm-hmm.
We're just using 2 channels of it, and that's it.
That's a
There's-
7-channel amp, right?
It's a 7-channel amp, but we're just using 2 channels.
And pure Class A.
Pure
too.
Class A, 7-channel, 450 watts.
Man,
Per-
we
per
talked
channel.
about this on the show
Yeah.
when you were on last.
Exactly.
And it still blows my mind.
It's unrestrained dynamics. So with 2 channels driven, 2 speakers, we don't have a sub, we don't have surround sound, we have none of that. We've just got a nice DH Labs VDAC as our source, and the amplifier and the speakers, and that's it. So it's trying to show that we showed at CES we can do high-end home theater and stuff that makes
yeah,
people
you
go,
did
wow.
you did an Atmos or
A full Atmos
a
system.
DTSX or I forget what it was.
It was set up to actually do both, Atmos
Oh, okay.
and DTSX.
All right.
And now we're showing, you know what, we could still do 2-channel really well with the exact same speakers and the exact same electronics. So
Yeah. Actually, I think we do have a picture of a couple of the Stark speakers. Let's see here. Tell us what we're looking at here.
okay, those are the H3s. That's a 3-way. It's 6.5-inch woofers on the top and bottom, 4-inch mid, and a 1-inch. There's 2 options. There's a 1-inch silk dome, and there's a signature version, which is a 1-inch pure beryllium dome on the tweeter.
Okay. I think we had what did this the oh okay here we
That's
got
the
here.
H5. That's our big boy.
Okay.
It's 3 10-inch woofers, a pair of 5 5.25-inch mids, beryllium tweet, and of course then the side-loaded 12-inch passive radiator.
Now, are these crossed over? Andrew Jones was talking about like a 2.5-way crossover.
This is an actual true three-way.
True three-way,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So the woofers roll off at about 110 hertz, which is very, very low. But the mid-range we built has a very, very high stroke in it. Everybody in the speaker world knows me for Mr. High Stroke.
Which, for those of us who don't know what that means?
It means the cone moves in and out a huge amount with no distortion.
Okay.
So a lot of output. So we cross over very low between the woofers and the mids, and then the mid can cross over about 3K to the tweeter. What that does is put almost all the impact and sonic presentation you're getting into the mid-range, where it can handle it a lot better. It's a much more coherent sound that you end up with.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have any other pictures? I thought we might have another one or two. Oh, the sub.
The sub. We have a sub 36 on static display in the room just to show people, look, we do subs. It's not even hooked up. This subwoofer has 2 passive radiators, 1 active driver, a 500-watt amplifier. It's about a 15-inch cube. So it's not that big. A lot of output in it, though. It gets down and grumbles.
And what are we talking about price-wise there?
Price-wise, that I think is about $1,700. But, I'm the technology guy. I'm not really the salesman.
Yeah,
So.
okay. All right. No, we like technology guys
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Well, then let me ask you the question that I've been asking a lot of my other guests here today, which is about high-res audio.
Yes.
Right? You've got files now. A lot of people at the show are playing high-res audio files that go out beyond 20K in frequency and go beyond 90 dB dynamic range, at least theoretically.
Yes.
What do you see as the benefit of that kind of a system, and under what conditions?
The big benefits I see are really on the mastering and recording side.
So the source side.
The source side, yeah. Honestly, like we're showing high-res audio. You kind of have to at this show. If you're going to be taken credible, you have to have high-res audio source.
Sure.
Our low-res is Tidal, which is CD quality.
Which is CD quality.
Yeah, which is great. But, we're in a hotel room, and a lot of homes, there's AC and things going on in the background. Your noise floor is about 35 dBA. Just kind of there's this constant going on background.
Yeah, which there is in many homes.
There is in many homes.
Not to mention cars.
Oh, gee, those are even worse. Yeah. So, or offices, which are 55, 60.
Yeah.
So you may be able to hear stuff without really being too masked, maybe 10 dB below that. So let's say you're starting at 25 dBA. If you put 100 dB, a CD is capable of 96. Let's just call it 100. That's a peak of 125 dB.
Yeah.
Home audio systems don't do that. That's where you're getting into line arrays that you put at concerts.
Yeah.
So the CD already has a dynamic range way beyond what you can reproduce at home.
Yep.
Or would want to reproduce at home for the most part.
So 24-bit really isn't necessarily...
It's not really there. But what it helps is when you're doing mastering and remixing and overlaying and overdubbing, every time you add 2 things together, the noise increases as well. Signal may double, but the noise will creep up half a bit. So this allows a lot more flexibility in the production side of things, where you don't have to worry about trying to always put in noise gate or ducking effects or other limiters to kind of hold things down in intermediate steps of the production. So you end up with what I think is a much truer sound recording, not necessarily benefiting from, oh, look, I've got 120, 130 dB dynamic range. No, usually your music still comes out with 20 or 30 or 40 dB. It's just those other artifacts and distortions that are introduced a lot of times in the the mastering process and the mixdown process are gone.
Well, certainly having more bits during the computational parts of things, as you say, mixing and so on, it's great to have that mathematical headroom, if you will.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you can, at the end, take it down to whatever you need it to be.
Exactly.
And you get a better result than if you start. I've always said this about shooting video as well as recording audio. You want to capture more than you're going to end up with.
Yeah. And I think the reason, so people are like, well, then why does everything just get mixed down to CD quality? Because so much of music production has now changed from original content creators, the Rolling Stones or Bob Dylan sitting down and just taking a take, right? That kind of a thing. That's not so much of the environment now. A third of it or half of it is literally taking music that already exists and then overlaying on it, overdubbing, remixing, creating my own, taking what you had created 20 years ago and creating something new and then respinning that. So I want the higher resolution to start with, so I'm not instantly limited right off the bat. So I think that's what's driving a lot of it too, is just the way that now music production has gone from large recording studios with dedicated engineers and dedicated places to, hey, I downloaded this high-res audio off the internet and now I'm going to mix it here on my computer. And I want that ultra-wide dynamic range to start with, so I don't have to dither it up. I don't have to do all that kind of stuff. So.
Right. Sound Pro 69 is saying, higher bit rates help with reproducing on the reproducing side, because there's a computation on the playback nowadays as well. Room correction, for example.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the whole thing. Again, if you're doing room correction, or if you're doing digital crossovers and all those kind of other facts that can come in, you're doing DTS and THX, or you're trying to do spatialization, like what Darren was talking about.
Right.
More bit depth helps there.
Absolutely.
So very
No
much.
question
Anytime
about it.
you're actually going to manipulate the signal, that's where you want more bit depth.
Yeah.
When you're just going to stop and listen to it, honestly, some of the most dynamic recordings, even to this day, are the old Telarc recordings.
Yeah.
And they're about 65, 68 dB.
Yeah.
I mean, Dolby B cassette would handle that.
Yeah.
From a dynamic range, seriously, from a dynamic range standpoint.
Right.
So you don't really need that from a pure listening experience, but just because of the way that we're processing what we hear at home, we're spitting around, we're remixing and creating new experiences with that. That's kind of where it's really needed.
Yeah. Well, wise words from a wise fellow.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.
That's Dan Wiggins. He's the CTO at Stark Sound. And you can find out more about their stuff at Stark Sound. That's Stark with an E, STARKE, sound.com. Well, listen, that brings us to the end of the Home Theater Geeks episode live from THE The Show. Hope you've enjoyed it, because I sure have. And I want to thank everybody here at The Show for providing me with a space and all the help that I needed to get this thing up and running. I brought all my studio equipment here to the hotel to do it, and it's just been a great experience. Everything worked out really, really well. So thanks to Hotel Irvine and to the folks here at The Show Newport. And again, if you happen to be in the LA area and want to come down to the Hotel Irvine, there's still plenty of time. Today's press day, Thursday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the venue is open to the public, and so you can come down. I believe $15 for a one-day pass, or $40 for a three-day pass. And there's an awful lot of really great sound and music to hear here, and you've heard a bit of it from the other side of this wall, which is Perfect 8, actually a company that makes glass speakers, and BA Labo, a Japanese company that makes very high-end electronics. And put those together, and you got some mighty fine sounds. I'm going to, I think, step next door and check it out. So, again, I say that's about it. You can find me always at avsforum.com. You can email me at scott@twit.tv. And you can follow me on Twitter at htgeekscott and at avsforum. You can always find previous episodes of Home Theater Geeks right here at twit.tv/htg. And on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/twit Home Theater Geeks. Next week, my guest geek is scheduled to be John Carafin, who is the head of Light Field Video at Lytro. And he's going to be talking with us about the new Lytro Cinema camera, which uses light field technology for cinematic projects and other light field related things as well. So I do hope you will join me for that. Until then, geek out.